In no particular order. The first one is Matrix Resurrections. This movie was very disappointing. I was expecting a little bit more from a Matrix movie. I don't remember when the last one was, but part 3 was not very good. But now you're bringing up it's called Resurrections, for God's sakes. You're going to resurrect the whole franchise. No, it was not good. All the action scenes were very generic. I just thought I was watching just a generic action movie. It could have been anything with Keanu Reeves. It could have been John Wick again. I think John Wick is probably better than this movie, for sure. Let me rephrase that. John Wick is better than this movie. I'm not going to get into it very much, but I will say, how many times in one movie can Neo, the one, or at least in this portion, half of the one, how many times is he going to fucking use the same move to block? Like, he does this thing to block. Bullets. Just bullets. 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 Like, every so often, I almost can, time it. He's blocking bullets. He does nothing else. He's just blocking bullets. And I was like, this is the most generic shit I've ever seen in this movie or in these movies. I can't believe it. You go from groundbreaking cinematography, scenes, different. The scenes in the first one are legendary. Now you come into this one and we're just doing some generic ass shit that it's been done a million times. Can't believe it. It was terrible. Matrix Resurrections. Regurgitations. I mean, God, disgusting. Next one. You remember when I just said a few moments ago that Nicolas Cage can act? He can act, and he acted terribly in this movie. It's Prisoners of the Ghostland. Mind you, this movie, I didn't know what was going on in this movie from the get-go. I watched it twice. Still had no idea what was going on. There was no real exposition to some of these characters. Kind of just showed up, and they were there, and they moved on. I wasn't sure if this was taking place in a small Japanese town in the middle of an apocalyptic future, or it was like Japan cultures kind of maybe meets Mad Max in a certain way, and you got Bill Moseley in a white cowboy suit. I just was confused with this whole movie. And mind you, there were 2 times where Nicolas Cage does really rage cagey shit. And I was, I did laugh a lot, but I'm not too sure if this movie was supposed to be laughable. I wasn't sure if this movie was supposed to be funny at all, but it wasn't even funny. It was bad. So, I mean, if you want to check out Prisoners of the Ghostland, be my guest, but you've been warned. Not good. Not good. Next on the terrible list of 2021, Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. This movie is trash beyond trash. I cannot tell you how bored I was to this movie. I'm a big fan of The Conjuring 1 and Conjuring 2. But this Ed and Lorraine Warren romance nonsense is just driving me up the wall. It feels like they were just grasping at straws, and they have this really, really provocative title, The Devil Made Me Do It. It was garbage. It wasn't scary at all. It was so boring. I hated it. And I wish they just had not made this movie at all. I always forget their names, but the ones that do play Ed and Lorraine Warren, they always do a great job, but I just don't believe the story of Ed and Lorraine. It's not them necessarily, it's Ed and Lorraine. I followed Ed and Lorraine Warren quite a bit throughout the years prior to these movies coming out, and the fantasy level on their relationship is through the roof. I just don't believe it. And the stories were knowing the real story of the actual case of that this film is based on. I'm sorry, just stop, please. Just stop, please. And last but not last, and very, very least, the most disappointing, terrible, worst of 2021. For God's sakes, Coming to America. Coming to America. Eddie Murphy, what are you doing, man? God, PG-13. You got to be kidding me. This movie feels like they think the audience is not smart. But you don't have to be smart to know what's going on in Coming to America. Anyone who's watching this movie has seen the original, knows the characters pretty well, I would say. So why are there explanations for certain characters that are supposed to be really funny and could have had funny moments, mind you? But why? Why? And the guy playing Akeem's son, I didn't believe that storyline for a second. There was nothing about the story of the dude who was Akeem's son, and then he became part of the family. Like, I didn't believe it for a second. Like, it took me out of this movie completely. And the tamed versions of all these characters was very disappointing. Still, I did enjoy the barbershop scene, which those guys are just funny altogether, but every single time they come up on the screen. But man, they tried to rehash a lot of old jokes and it just wasn't working. Eddie Murphy, you're a damn good comedian, man. Like, what are you doing? You could have done a lot better with this movie, and it went straight to Amazon. It would have flopped even worse at the theater. I'm almost certain of it. This movie's just bad. And that, to me, was the worst, most disappointing, terrible movie of 2021.